Less than a week after the Browns made Myles Garrett the highest paid non-cornerback in NFL history, the Bengals came for the title, signing Chase to a 4-year, $161 million deal with a reported $112 million guaranteed, making Cincinnati wide receiver the highest paid non-quarterback in the league's history. For more on the latest NFL news, I'm joined by CBS Sports NFL analyst John Breech. And Breech, the Bengals not only took care of Chase, but also signed T. Higgins to a 4-year, $115 million deal with the first 2 years guaranteed, making him the highest paid wide receiver, too, in NFL history. So the Bengals clearly have locked up their top offensive playmakers. And despite having one of the league's most prolific offenses in 2024, they finished 9-8 and missed the playoffs. So what about the defense? I mean, the Bengals clearly got guys like Trey Hendrickson, who led the NFL in sacks last season, to take care of, too.
Yeah, this is really one of those situations where you kind of put on your blinders real quick if you're a Bengals fan. You see, all right, Chase, T. Higgins, they're under contract now. But now you have $125 million per year locked up with Joe Burrow, Higgins, and Chase. And you have a bunch of holes on your defense that now need to be filled. And it's not just Trey Hendrickson and getting him back in there. You probably need a new defensive tackle, a couple new defensive tackles. You need more depth at linebacker. And you know what really got overshadowed is the fact that Jermaine Pratt, one of their starting linebackers, also requested a trade in February. So that's a situation that still has to resolve itself. And then they probably could use some help in the secondary, especially at safety. So when you look at the spot the Bengals are in, when you have almost 50% of your salary cap committed to 3 guys, you have to go into free agency. You have to go into draft, and you have to do it wisely. So you need to find those diamonds in the rough in the NFL draft. You need to find those low-cost free agents in the second wave of free agency who can instantly fit into your system and make an impact. So that's what the Cincinnati Bengals are going to have to do. They can't flash their pocketbook anymore. They can't afford to sign anyone else to a $30 million a year contract. So it's about drafting intelligently, finding free agents, and that is how they're going to have to build the back end of their roster, Maddie. So it remains to be seen if they can do that, because they haven't been super successful in the draft over the past few years. They got to get that turned around now. Yeah, and you got to remember, defensive players, they get paid too. Speaking of which, the Texans, an all-pro corner, Derek Stingley, agreed to a 3-year, $90 million extension, including $89 million guaranteed. So, Breech, what's your reaction to Stingley becoming the highest paid defensive back and resetting the quarterback market? Yeah, on the surface, this is an absolutely shocking number. I think it kind of blew everyone away when they saw it. But when you kind of dig deeper into this, this is a brilliant move by the Texans. The other team in Texas, Dallas Cowboys, they might want to take note of what Houston is doing, because when you draft a star player, somebody who immediately contributes on your team, somebody who is going to be a longtime starter, you want to give them their second contract as soon as possible. And that's what the Houston Texans did here. A lot of teams will wait until after that 4th season to give a player an extension, a first-round pick. The Texans didn't do that. They waited until after Stingley's 3rd season, and they rewarded him with this huge numbers, this $30 million per year. But when you look at the fact that Stingley still has 2 years left on his contract, he's now locked up for 5 years, $113 million. That's an average of $22.6 million per year. And that is a much more digestible number that the Texans now have one of the top lockdown corners in the NFL under contract for the next 5 years at under $25 million a year on average. So I think Houston made a brilliant move here. And on the opposite end of that, you have the Cowboys, who don't do this with Micah Parsons. He's still trying to get a new contract. They dragged it out with CeeDee Lamb. They dragged it out with Dak Prescott. And Jerry Jones is just writing these giant checks. So if any NFL team, if you are running an NFL team, if you are the general manager in an NFL team, if you want to save money, you got to get your guys that second contract as early as possible. The Texans did that here, and I think this was a brilliant move. Yeah, we're seeing that becoming more of a trend between Stingley, you see Josh Allen, these extensions getting done well before necessary, and in the long term, it's paying off. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, you got teams that are looking to fill their rooms, like the Giants. They're still searching for their quarterback. That search continues as another veteran free agent is set to visit East Rutherford. I'm talking about Jameis Winston will visit the Giants facility on Tuesday. Breech, lots of the conversation here has been around Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson for the G-men, but what are your thoughts on Jameis Winston as a potential veteran presence in that quarterback room? I mean, the whole Giants QB situation really feels like an episode of The Bachelor where the Giants is trying to give their rose away and no one wants it, or no one's answering their phone calls. They can't get anyone to call them back. They're being ghosted. You look at what the Giants are doing. Plan A was obviously Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron Rodgers is out doing Aaron Rodgers things, walking on the beach, contemplating life, trying to figure out what he is going to do next. And then you have Russell Wilson, already visited with the Giants. Joe Flacco, already visited with the Giants. So it feels like New York is now on a plan D, which is Jameis Winston. And you know what, Maddie? Plan D isn't that bad. I don't think it is a huge step down from plan A, plan B, or plan C. Jameis Winston, we know he still has some juice in the tank. We saw him against the Broncos last season, that game where he threw for 497 yards and 4 touchdowns. If he is in the right system with the right receivers, the right talent around him, I think he can absolutely still sling it. And the Giants have some pretty good offensive players. Blake Neighbors, obviously, Tyrone Tracy Jr. So if the Giants get stuck with Jameis Winston, it's one of those, you win either way, because if he plays well and the Giants win 9 or 10 games with him, everyone's mind is going to be blown. But if he throws 5 interceptions per game and they only win 3 games, they get another high draft pick next year, and you move on to your quarterback of the future after that. So, there's high expectations if you sign Aaron Rodgers. Those expectations aren't necessarily there with Jameis Winston. So if he ends up there, I think the Giants will be a fun team to watch. Maybe they don't win many games, but fun to watch.
Hey, like you said, he's still got a hose, still can sling it. Plus, personality hire. Nobody shades on a little bit of joy in that locker room. So we'll see how it all pans out. John Breech, thanks so much for the insight. Now, for more NFL coverage, join Kyle Long and Mike Renner as they combine analytics and football passion for 4 episodes a week on Push in the Pile. Get it wherever you get your podcasts.